week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Sean.
Chris.
Lee.
How are we all doing this week?
Not bad. Not
Yeah,
bad. How are you?
solid start to the week.
Have we got anything to be excited for?
No.
Yes.
Well, thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe on Patreon. Hit that like button. Yeah, testing then. That threw up a few interesting things. Lee has a theory. Lee has many theories, but this one's relating to F1. That Mercedes are actually struggling this year, and it's not the usual. Oh, we're crap. Oh, we're crap. Oh, we're crap. Oh, hang on, we're half a second faster than everybody else by the time Q1 rolls round.
Hang on. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to fix the problems. I'm just saying the issues they had at the first test, I think, were real issues.
At the first test, or the
Sorry,
second?
this. Well, technically, yes, the first test, not the shakedown.
But the Bahrain test.
Yeah. I think they've got there's something going on with that car that they weren't prepared for.
Yeah. But there's a lot of it's that porpoising thing that we were talking about with Scarbs last week, isn't it? That appears to be a bit of a problem, and Mercedes appear to be understeering quite badly as well. Although we have seen and heard these things from Mercedes and their drivers in the past, and then they've turned up to the first race and left everyone behind.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of power to be unlocked in that engine. And if that's the case, fucking look out for McLaren. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
McLaren seem hidden, don't they? Because they've got a really good car. They just had a really bad test.
They can't stop the car. That's the problem.
Yeah.
They're not using all the power yet.
Yeah, they don't use the power just in case it does a Williams and the back end bursts into flames.
I tell you what, though, fucking minute silence for Daniel Ricciardo, though. Jesus. When you consider the year he had last year, went into the first test. I know he turned around and said something along the lines of, "Oh, the car suits me better." But when you looked at the gap between him and Lando, it kind of looked like the gap between him and Lando last year as well. And now all of a sudden, COVID misses a whole fucking test to get used to these new cars, and if he's okay to drive next week, is going to rock up to a race with the least knowledge of any driver about their car.
Yeah, well, Lando will have more knowledge than anyone else after doing all 3 days.
Yeah.
They got to a point on Saturday where I think it was Saturday lunchtime, and I was just looking at the live reporting from the test, and it's just like McLaren have said Lando probably won't go out again this afternoon, and then it was just like Lando Norris has done 22 laps again this afternoon.
Yeah.
What's he doing? He's still going out.
Apparently, as well, at the end of each day, he was then spending an hour on the phone to Ricciardo, telling him everything he'd learned.
Well, that's good.
It's pretty intense.
And I assume Piastri was on the call as well, just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, he's on standby, isn't he?
Yeah, Alpine have said that they will lend Piastri to McLaren.
You need an Australian. Here's one.
We just happen to have one lying around.
It seems that if you want to get into a Formula One car as a reserve person, the best thing to do is not actually be a reserve driver, because it always seems to be another driver that's airlifted in instead of the reserve driver that comes into a team.
Yeah, McLaren's official reserves are still Van Dorn, De Vries, and weirdly Paul di Resta.
Yeah,
because Van Dorn is in Sebring, I think, this weekend, isn't he?
Yeah, so he's out. I think he's actually doing double duty. He's doing WEC and IMSA.
No, what a show off.
Friday and Saturday.
De Vries might be in WEC as well.
Probably because there's about 9,000 Dutch teams.
New rule: Formula One teams reserve driver must travel with team and be at circuit.
It seems like a basic qualification of the job, doesn't it? If you're the person on standby, if someone can't go, you kind of need to be available and not twatting about in Sebring.
Yeah. Imagine if your doctor did that. If your doctor was on call out and he was supposed to come on call. No, I can't. But we can send the butcher.
You've been ill over here. You should know that's how it works. Doctor can't make it. He's on a particularly tricky par 5.
No, to be fair, I can get in touch with my butcher.
Well, yeah, you've got a decent one just round the corner from you, haven't you?
Yes, I do. I do, actually. He's a really good butcher.
Yeah. Excellent butchers, I would like to say.
Yeah, one of the top 3 on the island. That's as far as I'm going because there's 2 other good ones that we use. moving away from local retail onto local politics. No, we'll not do that.
No time for local politics. No time for politics most of the time.
Yeah.
I agree.
So, what did we think to the return of K-Mag? Who was surprised by that, apart from everyone?
Yeah, I was surprised that it was Kevin Magnussen. I thought it was somebody said that it was going to be, if it's not Mazep, what was it? I can't remember what the tweet said now. If it's not Mazep is it Hulkenbach? And I said it's probably going to be Fittipaldi in, horseshoeing that, shoehorning that in, horseshoeing that in.
Because I think
Fucking hell.
even Joe Vanazzi, I think, was getting mentioned ahead of Magnussen up until literally the Magnussen announcement.
Well, I always thought Kevin Magnussen would have stayed with the Peugeot team doing the WEC because that seems like a really good setup that they've got going on there.
Mm-hmm. No need to go fuck smashing any doors.
Nope.
No. Glaziers are in and around Formula One are rubbing their hands with glee.
Do you know what? It was really nice, wasn't it? Did anyone see the videos of him going up and seeing how genuinely happy all the team were to see him back, all the mechanics?
A real driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, after watching episode 4 of Drive to Survive, I see why.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't age well, that one, did it?
No.
I mean, not to spoil it for anyone that actually hasn't got as far as episode 4 yet.
But now 3 days, what are they doing?
Yeah, true. How you can call it a redemption story about him finishing 18th in his home Grand Prix when the only 2 cars that he was actually put on the list ahead of had both fucking retired?
Right.
Yeah.
I've seen Drive to Survive. I've watched the whole thing.
You must be feeling ill.
To be fair,
Yeah.
so have we.
The 2 sittings it took me 2 sittings to watch it all. I know it was slightly off topic because we were talking about testing, but someone needs to fucking have a word with some people here because I realize there's some creative editing goes on in that, but Jesus fucking Christ, there was no parts of the commentary in that I think were actually done during the actual Grand Prix.
No.
And they even managed to make it look like Schumacher did a good job last year for Haas. I'm not saying that he's a bad Formula One driver. Nobody can do a good job in that car. Nobody.
I mean, it was a low bar to begin with, but it's if it's a low bar, you don't have to jump very high.
Yeah, but if you haven't got a pet and somebody gives you a dead cat, it's still not a good pet.
You see, whereas I would say, which of the 2 drivers did the best job at polishing the turd? Which I would say Mick Schumacher.
I mean,
have you watched it, Flood?
I'm not all the way through. I've got to about episode 6, I think.
Right, I'm not going to give away the ending, but the last the last line of episode 10 is possibly the most chilling thing I have ever seen on TV.
Okay, I'll get back on that tomorrow.
Send us a message when you've watched it, and if I will guarantee you will be as chilled as we were. We watched it on Saturday. It was like bloody hell.
Yeah, be terrified.
I think
Nightmare
the thing
fodder.
about
Nightmare fodder.
The 4 seasons of Drive to Survive. When you look at the social media talk about it, when it first came out, people were like, "Oh, this is really good. Really enjoy it." Then the second season, like, yeah, it's all right. Third season, that thing where they've been putting different radio calls in is a bit weird. Now people are like, this is fucking awful, and it doesn't give a shit about actual Formula One fans.
I think they've done a lot fewer interviews this time, so we didn't actually get I didn't feel like there was a huge amount more that we hadn't seen. There was a lot more race stuff. And 2, I wonder if it's also, in a way, a victim of its own success in that people who watched it for the first couple of seasons are now actually watching F1. So we're like, hang on, this isn't quite what I thought it was. I've already seen this and I know it happened differently.
I think so.
What I would be interested to know is if somebody can give me any good reason why there's about an hour and a half's worth of interview footage with Susie Wolff.
Yeah, there was a lot of Susie Wolff and a lot of Jerry Horner and 0 Alfa Romeo.
I think it's because there are certain things that Toto would not say. So that's why Susie is in on the program.
Well, then just don't have it. Don't have it there. I like the amount of the one or two.
You still need to give that perspective, though, don't you? You still
One of those-
give perspective from that. It probably would have been better having somebody from the Mercedes team, but I mean, Susie is his wife. At the end of the day, spend probably more time with him than anyone else.
And
But there was episodes of that show. There was episodes of that show that should have been called "Keeping Up with the Wolves."
I'd watch that. To be fair,
she was probably pitching for a Formula E version, because don't forget she's a Formula E team principal. So maybe they're thinking of now doing a Formula E version, calling it, I don't know, Charge to Barge or something.
Now, every word you just said, Paul, I'd like you to write it down. I'd like you to go into a small room and read it back to yourself and imagine how fucking stupid it is.
I don't think
There's
that's
no
getting
chance.
commissioned on
No
like
chance.
Netflix. That's going to get commissioned on like what was it called, Chibi
Men and
or whatever
Motors.
it is that got scrapped after about 6 months.
Challenge.
Yeah, it's not a premium production. That I think that's a sort of niche, middle of the night event.
And that's just Formula E.
The MotoGP one came out this weekend as well, and they forgot to release it in English.
Oh well, that's helpful.
oh yeah, no, it's weird. It's weirdly dubbed, isn't it? Apparently, it's with
I've
even
seen
the,
complaints about dubbing.
Yeah.
I've not seen any of it yet, but I'm just imagining it's along the lines of the "Hi, I'm Jana Lacey" Head and Shoulders.
Yeah, I think
advert.
it is. I haven't seen any of it either, but apparently, yeah, the riders who don't speak particularly great English and have give interviews in their own mother tongue are having their interviews dubbed over in English.
Fantastic.
Is it one of these? How long has Valentino Rossi been from Somerset?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And the thing is, most of the riders do give interviews in English on race day, so I don't know. Yeah, that could be. They probably could dub themselves.
Well, do you remember when Charles Leclerc first started in Formula One? His English wasn't good enough to do interviews. He really his interviews were very. My English isn't good enough either, apparently. His interviews were very short, and he didn't say very much until he got a real good handle on the language. And now, obviously, he's doing a lot, speaking in English quite fluently, as we saw on Drive to Survive with Carlos Sainz.
Yeah, I mean, I always think that anyone who has to do the majority of their work in a second or lower down the list language, I couldn't manage that.
I also think it's weird that Mattia Binotto speaks in Italian on Drive to Survive, yet he actually speaks English.
Yes, you hear him speak English in Drive to Survive on like the team radio and in the team meetings. Speaks great English.
Yeah, but answered all of his questions in Italian.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. One of the weirdest dubbings ever was a few years back when Alonso was at Ferrari and he was on a Fiat 500 advert and they dubbed him for some reason. With like a weird campy American accent.
Fernando Alonso.
Who speaks English?
Sorry, Chris, that sounded like Crichton.
It was a bit, wasn't it? It was a little bit.
Can you just give us a spin my nipple nuts and send me to Alaska?
No, well, not now. No, maybe later on. But the
If anybody wants that as their message tone, just drop us a line.
No, that'll be a $7 Patreon.
I think that should be Patreon only. Otherwise, we'll be inundated with requests.
if Robert Llewellyn is listening, and that's highly unlikely, I'm available for personal appearances.
Just radio ones only, though.
No, I'll stand behind him and do the voice. He can't do it anymore.
I'm not seeing any of the recent series of Red Dwarf, so I didn't know that.
He's he was doing the he runs a YouTube channel on electric cars. Can't remember what it's called. Fully Charged, I think. Which yeah.
That could be another name for the Inside Formula E, Susie. But I'll stop.
Inside Susie Wolf. Sorry, was that?
It did sound like you said Inside Formula Susie.
Well, no, don't forget we had constant repeats of the Inside Williams documentary.
Yes.
And when Sky Sports Formula One started.
Yeah, back in the days when they only had 2 programs, when it wasn't when there wasn't a race session, it was that and the Johnny Herbert story.
90% of the time, it was the car for whatever year that was being built in the race bay on that time lapse video. It's just like, oh, this is painful. I've seen this about 15 times in the last hour.
But yeah, inside Williams, when they were when they kept showing Bottas and Massa, we've re-signed for another year. It's like, neither of you are with the team anymore. One of you's retired twice.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah, they're nowhere near, were they? I did find it quite funny in the Drive to Survive. The Haas announcement was just like, we're retaining our drivers for 2022. Ha! No, you're not.
I mean, nothing in that episode aged well at all.
No, I think
you know,
the positive spin though is the return of Magnussen, isn't it? Let's be honest. And Magnussen is going to be. It'll take him. I think it'll take him a little while to get back into the groove of Formula One. Not a race or two. I don't mean like 6 months. But then I think towards the back end of the season, we'll see just how. He's a good yardstick for Mick Schumacher, put it that way.
Yeah.
If Mick Schumacher is comparable with Magnussen, then we know Magnussen was a pretty good Formula One driver who just made bad decisions quite often. On track, I mean. And, so it'll be interesting to see how Magnussen and Schumacher develop their partnership and which one of them comes out on top at the end of the year.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what Haas can do with development on the car, because this is going to be the first time for about 3 years where they've had a car that they're actually going to work on during the season, because they've been prone to having a good car or an okay car at the start, one that's capable of scoring points in the first few races, and then just dropping the development. This time they actually said. About a year ago, that when the 2022 car comes out, we will be working on it for longer during the season than we've worked on any other car before.
Well, according to Lando, Lando thinks that Haas are going to be their main rival this year.
Has Lando been on the hard milk?
No, some people actually have Haas pretty high up the leaderboard on their post-testing rundowns. Obviously, it's a little bit different for different media companies, should we say? But the general consensus appears to be that Red Bull and Ferrari are pretty much at the top. Don't really know where McLaren and Mercedes are, but they could be right behind them. And I think the big surprise is that Aston Martin had an awful test. Aston Martin appeared to be right down at the back in terms of performance and also just track time. I don't think they got an awful lot of track time on.
I think they had a few issues, didn't they? I think each of them ended up sort of just at the side of the track at one point.
Yeah.
I mean, there was the one on the Friday when they were planning on, I think, the second attempt at doing the restart procedure, and Lance actually managed to break down in the pit lane.
Was that at the second attempt? I know Bottas broke down at the first, didn't he?
Yeah, Bottas broke down on the first one on the Thursday, and I think it was the Friday. Lando got past the final garage on the pit lane and had to pull over because the car had just died on him completely.
Lando or Lance, you mean?
Sorry, Lance. A lot of talk of Lando. But the car didn't even make it as far as the track, and it just died, which was the reason that Friday's restart procedure got aborted. We all just wanted to hear Crofty say, "It's lights out and away we go."
Yeah. They weren't actually. It was just a race start procedure check, wasn't it?
It was a procedure check, but they were holding the cars on the line, and then they were free to set off once the lights had gone out.
Yeah. So and Gasly led into turn one, and then that was it. The race was over.
Yeah. So maybe it's AlphaTauri that are going to be the big surprise this year.
Well, maybe. Who knows? It's it's new rules, new regulations give a chance for teams to make huge leaps, and in some cases, huge drops. If Mercedes aren't sandbagging, maybe they might find themselves fourth or fifth best team. Especially at the start of the season, we know they're particularly good at developing. But if there's an inherent problem with the philosophy of that car, then they might struggle to fix that going through the season, given that as the Constructors' World Champions, they have limited development time.
I don't think they're going to drop too far behind. I think at very worst for them, I see them being a close third behind Red Bull and Ferrari. Ferrari still got a question mark for me because
they're Ferrari.
They're Ferrari. They famously
Winter World Champions.
Yeah, exactly. They famously run like reasonably light in testing,
bag sanding.
Which usually gives us like a false impression of where they are. I really hope that there's something in Ferrari or Mercedes can sort themselves out, because otherwise we might be looking at Red Bull just running off into the distance, because that car looks good.
It does. I mean, what I've taken out of testing this year is finally times don't matter. It's the reliability and it's the amount of laps they get in. And
I think that and how the onboards look.
Yeah, like Russell in that Mercedes on Saturday, his head was just like, it looked like it was going to fall off. It was getting bounced around all over the place. That's not good.
Yeah, I think what we need to do is get that footage and put it to a David Gray song.
And the other
Swing
thing
and a
that caught
miss.
my eyes was the other thing that caught my eye with Russell was how often he was ahead of Lewis. So you're going to think that they're going to be running comparable times. They're going to be running comparable setups at some point during the test. I don't think
have to.
Yeah. I thought it was very strange how the distance between Russell and Lewis.
Yeah, I don't know. It's we won't. We say this every year. We won't know until qualifying, really. The worst porpoising I saw in this second test was, I think it was Yuki Tsunoda. Was it the first day of the test, the Thursday?
Oh, Gasly it was. It was Gasly.
Was it Gasly? Bounced,
Crazy.
right on the end of the straight there. Like,
yep.
he
looked like a fucking bobblehead.
Yeah. He looked like he was about to come out of that car.
Tsunoda would have done it. Would have been like putting a kid on a ride they're not supposed to fit in.
I think Tsunoda might have been my favourite from Drive to Survive.
Lazy Tsunoda.
Yeah, the lazy and just the sheer quantity of swearing.
Well, learnt his English from mechanics.
Well,
That,
yes, and Gunter Steiner maybe.
The best part of Drive to Survive was Tsunoda walking out the toilet and turning around to what I think was his trainer going, "Just had a great shit."
So Kimi as well then.
It makes me almost sad that he's not good enough to stay in Formula One after this year.
Oh, you never know. He might have stuck to his training plan. You never know.
Press X to doubt.
He loved Milton Keynes, didn't he? Milton Keynes is a favourite place of Yuki Tsunoda's.
How can Milton Keynes be a favourite place of anyone?
No, he said it was. He said it was the most boring place in the world, didn't he?
Yeah, it was his face when he ate the mushy peas. Poor lad's traumatised.
I've got to admit, you look similar when I eat mushy peas.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Mushy peas are the best.
Best
Yeah,
thing,
I like
best thing to have with fish and chips.
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, with mushy peas. We're all on the same page. Fucking hell.
Anything else?
I disagree.
Anything else is a hate crime.
Disagree. I will commit a hate crime. I disagree strongly on the mushy peas.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, curry sauce has its place.
Curry sauce is acceptable.
Not with fish, though.
No, chips and curry.
No, you can dunk. Yeah, you dunk the chips in the curry. You don't be whacking the curry on the fish. No.
I'm not happy about any of this.
But mushy peas, yes, absolutely.
So Yuki Tsunoda needs to spend more time in Milton Keynes just to have proper food, even though moving to Faenza gives him better results.
That 100% didn't look like something a Formula One driver would be eating, though, did it?
No.
No.
Not one that's a bit out of shape and needs to be sort of dragged to the gym. No, don't be having your fish and chips.
I thought it was quite funny that Daniel Ricciardo appeared to eat a pizza the night before he raced the Italian Grand Prix, which of course
pizza.
he won. Yeah.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, the season he's had, I'm surprised he didn't start taking drugs before the races.
To be fair, he won that one though, didn't he? Maybe that's where he's been going
yeah.
wrong.
Maybe that's it.
Not enough massive pizza before races.
So pizza is the new porridge.
Mm-hmm.
And why the fuck does Toto Wolff love Pumpernickel?
Searches
Pumpernickel?
searches of Pumpernickel spiked by 50% on Google on Friday.
What? Well, it's just going to have another hit, isn't it?
It was like, you didn't toast it enough. It needs to be toasted so it's crispy like a cookie.
Yeah.
I mean, it tastes like fucking drywall to begin with.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Pumpernickel's not great, but Toto Wolff absolutely loves it.
Clearly.
Yeah, what would you want for breakfast? Egg on plasterboard, please. It'll taste slightly nicer.
A sweet rye bread.
No, it's not. I don't know if there's much sweet about it, but
Bread.
Oh, slightly sweet rye bread.
yeah,
Typically heavy. Made in Germany.
yeah. You slice it and then you toast it, and it's usually had with something like eggs, I guess, eggs and possibly avocado or some kind of salad.
It's that tough, usually followed by dental work.
It looks like the sort of thing you could catfish somebody into thinking they're eating ginger cake with.
But every time Toto Wolff orders breakfast, you hear him asking for Pumpernickel.
I mean, I imagine in his accent it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, he's speaking German
Pumpernickel.
and this is happening as well. So all his ingredients are in German and then he's just like, and Pumpernickel.
Ja, zwei Ei und Pumpernickel.
Do you think it's like...
And if you would like that as your message, Tone.
But do you think it's like... Because he comes across as being such a cartoon villain now since the Black Polar Neck.
Don't give any secrets. Don't give any episode 10 secrets away.
No, but do you think it's like to add some humanity back to the character? Like that video you see now and again of Hitler playing with dogs.
If Hitler eats Pumpernickel, that's not saving him as a character, though.
No, but he did have Labradors.
No, it was Alsatians. We watched, what was it, Hitler's Secret Sex Life last week on Netflix.
You put it on.
Yeah, that's on Netflix, isn't it? Yeah, no, that came up. I was just like, well, that was an interesting 1 hour documentary on the genital conditions of Adolf Hitler. And then it was just like, episode 2. I was like, what? Hang on. I was like, wait a second. This is a fucking series.
Yeah, no, there was
what's going on?
A lot of detail on his balls.
Netflix thing on Netflix.
I mean, did they have to re-dramatise his bollocks? Sorry, bollock.
Yeah, this is the thing. They talk about the one bollock.
They do talk about the one bollock. The song was correct.
Speaking of talking about things, testing.
Testing, not testy.
Yes, correct.
Oh, completely lost the thread. Yes,
We're talking about Pumpernickel, bizarrely.
Alfa Romeo, shit in hell, they look unreliable.
They look unreliable, but when Bottas is putting laps in, the car looks pretty good. I didn't catch much of what Guang Yu Zhou had managed, but but Bottas's laps, I noticed he was 3rd or 4th most of the time when he was out on the circuit.
Yeah, I think the question's going to be with them this season is the main thing is going to be reliability, because they had a lot of niggling little issues, and niggling little issues can ruin a race as much as your engine blowing up.
Yeah, absolutely. What was it that was it Lewis Hamilton's first race in the turbo hybrid era? Wasn't it a €1 spark plug casing or something that failed on him, and that's what had to retire the car? A piece that costs like 70p in English money. Done.
Damon Hill and a 5p wire clip.
It's always one of these, isn't it?
arrows.
It's always your 50p part that fails.
Johnny Herbert and the spanner left under the accelerator.
Yes. That was a bit more than yes.
It was probably not a cheap spanner.
Snap-on, I heard.
Can we just take a second to appreciate how right it looks seeing Bottas in a lower mid-grid team?
It does
really
feel,
suits
yeah,
those
it does
overalls.
feel his more natural locale.
Yeah.
I think he's appreciating not having the pressure on him.
I think he's appreciating knowing where he'll be this time next year.
Yeah.
I think it'd be so fucking funny if Guan Yu Zhou starts handing his own eyebrows like Lewis did.
Yeah, I mean, Zhou's a bit of an unknown quantity. He seemed pretty good in F2, but
He's had a year out though, hasn't he? I can't really remember what he was like in F2.
No, he was runner-up last year,
he kept crashing into Dick Tantrum.
and the
okay.
year before he was favourite for the title and kept crashing. He's done a year too many, I think, to be honest, in F2.
I think that's it, isn't it, with F2? If people don't like, there's no such thing as the slow burn world champion from Formula 2.
No.
You know, it's if
Rosberg took a few years.
did he? I can't remember him in what was it GP2 back then?
It would have been. He was. I think he was he champion the year before Lewis?
Yeah, but he hit the ground running though, because he went in one of his first races in Formula One. He became the youngest ever fastest lap holder, and it was only like his fourth or fifth race. And he got the fastest lap in a race, and he was the youngest ever to do it. So Rosberg always had potential to do something quite spectacular, but he just didn't do anything until he found himself in a car that was able to consistently run at the front. And like Lee has said many times before, it makes you realize how good Nico Rosberg was to be able to hold on to Lewis Hamilton and beat him that one year.
Yeah. I think it shows just what it took to do as well. The fact that he essentially did it and then fucked off out of Formula One, it shows what he had to do to beat Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, it took Rosberg 11 years between winning the inaugural GP2 championship and winning the F1 championship. That's a bit of a slow burn.
Well, when you think about it, I think Rosberg, if it would have gone on longer, it would have been interesting to see what happened. Because I think there's an argument that could be made. He was one engine failure for Lewis not happening away from being Bottas. You know, if he'd have been beaten that year by Lewis, would that have been enough to have just sort of mentally trampled him down into being like Lewis's number 2 before Bottas came in?
Yeah, maybe, but at the same time, Rosberg was able to take a fight to Hamilton in the same car.
That's fair.
Would Bottas have come in at all, or would they have just held on to number 2 Rosberg until Ocon was ready?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows what would have happened? The alternative universes that Formula One could have found itself in. But when you consider that it was over the 5 seasons that he was with Mercedes, he won 10 races, and Lewis Hamilton won. Oh, sorry, I think Nico Rosberg won 11 races the year he won the title. So. You know, I feel bad because Bottas, I think, is a really good driver. He's just not that. He's not that level, if you know what I mean. He's not great.
No, not
he's
at all.
good.
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah, he's good enough to be in Formula One, but he's not great.
I'm just looking at the list of GP2 champions, and I'd forgotten a couple of them even existed.
Davide Valsecchi?
No. Giorgio Pantano.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Fabio Lima.
No.
Totally disappeared.
No idea what became of him. Wikipedia lists him as a former racing driver.
This does not bode well.
Oh dear. Ended up in GP2. No, GP2 Asia. Yeah,
after he won the championship.
No, sorry, it was in GP2 Asia before he was in GP2. Oh, Rebellion Racing and didn't actually make it to WEC. Planned to drive in Super Formula in 2015, however couldn't pay sponsorship. Reserve driver for Manor in 2015.
Oof.
Apparently did Formula E.
Did he now?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
Did 2 rounds when Jaime Alguersuari was ill.
Oh.
Has he done Le Mans?
No.
Kind of forgotten that Jaime Alguersuari did Formula E, to be honest.
Oh, sorry, he has done Le Mans. Wasn't classified.
I was going to say, even Michael Fassbender is having a go at Le Mans.
So is Fabian Barthez.
Yeah.
He's all right, Barthez.
Is he still in the team with oh god. Nope, it's gone. French former F1 driver.
Panis?
Yes.
I think so.
Because they were Panis Barthez Racing for a bit.
What a combo.
Does he still get Laurent Blanc to kiss his head before the start of a race?
Oh, I have no idea.
If anybody remembers the 1998 World Cup, 24
of course,
years ago.
Yeah. 1998 World Cup was the first World Cup I watched properly. Like, obviously I paid attention to the 94 World Cup, but 1998 was the one for me. That was the big World Cup in France.
Oh, I feel so old. It was 20 years after the first World Cup I watched properly.
Well, there you go. I wasn't even born in 78, so...
I'd like to say I wasn't. Anyway, back to testing. The six-wheel Tyrrell. No, if we're talking about sort of innovation, we can't let that pass without the podlets, podettes.
Scarbs
podlings.
Scarbs made a comment in on last week's podcast that his joke had been taken a little bit too seriously by an Italian news agency that Mercedes had just deleted their side pods entirely, and they announced it as a proper news story, and then it spread like wildfire. It wasn't that far from the truth. They're not total deleted, but they are very, very small, especially when you see the Mercedes alongside the Ferrari.
That comparison photograph is fucking wild.
Like there's a whole like you could probably park a Fiesta in the missing part of Mercedes side.
Park a Fiesta and house the family that own it.
Surely it'd be a Fiat 500 if you're parking it next to the Ferrari.
Maybe, but I was thinking more sort of where the space that Ferrari to the Mercedes, you could probably park a car next to the Mercedes and still not be as wide as a Ferrari is.
Yeah, I mean they've definitely gone for something revolutionary with that. Now apparently it's something that is the heat exchanger and the thermal conduction system is something that's used in the space industry.
Yeah, it's apparently the layout was exactly the same in Barcelona internally. The only thing that's changed is the external surfaces. And once again, our friend Craig Scarborough, who was on last week, posted upon Twitter to say that they've changed the shape, but the volume of what they had at Barcelona, all they've done is sort of melted it, and it's just sort of fallen to the bottom by the floor instead of being like most of the mass being at the top. It's at the bottom, and he answered loads of people's questions like, well, surely this isn't going to work well for cooling. And he's like, no, it's fine. There's decent airflow there. That should be okay. The problem appears to be for Mercedes, as we said, innovation, absolutely 100%. Hamilton has said that. Hamilton or Hamilton La Balestia said that he's got.
Carry on, Flood Peach.
Yeah. Well, that would be my name, absolutely. Yeah. Now everybody can get into my bank. Anyway. Actually, having said that, everyone can get into Lewis Hamilton's bank. Don't come for me. I've got nothing. Go for Lewis Hamilton. Mother's maiden name.
Yeah, we know what his pets are called as well. If
Yep,
that's
we
his
do,
security question.
Yeah. Oh no!
I
don't
feel
go
like
down
we
that road.
probably
That's
should suggest you don't try and hack Lewis Hamilton's bank.
absolutely do not hack anyone's bank account.
You know what, Sean? I like to live in a world where we don't feel we have to say that, but you're probably right.
I never thought of it that way. So
yeah, he said that there are problems with the car, but it has potential. So it's, do they stick with the innovation, or do they turn up in Bahrain with the same setup that they had at, do they turn up at the first race this coming weekend with the same setup that they had in Barcelona?
it's going to be interesting to see if all the differences are on the outside. Then they may have two sets of bodywork standing by.
I'm surprised they didn't change it during testing if that was the case, though. It appears like this is the road they're going down. They're sticking to it, and they'll try and fix whatever the issue is.
Because, I mean, it looked like a lot of the issues with it were coming from the floor as well. Which
floor, and because there's no side pod, rear tire wake, because the air is just slamming into that rear tire. Rear tire, which is giving some rear end instability.
Well, I mean, I don't know. We'd need Scarbs on really to say whether I'm right or not. But I take it because if you're trying to get sort of they're sacrificing a little bit of top end aero, I think, to work the floor better by getting rid of the side pods. So I wonder if that's why they had such problems with porpoising, because if they've ditched off some of the some downforce for a more efficient ground effect, then you would think when the ground effect stalls, which is what causes the porpoising, then it would be worse if you don't have that extra downforce pushing the car down as well.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, top level downforce would help.
Yeah, sorry, I've just been distracted by a message that somebody sent me, and I'm not mentioning any names, but the message reads, I think registering Lewis-Hamilton.com was worth $14.
Oh.
Hang on, has he gone the other way around? Labelestier Hamilton?
Labelestier-Hamilton.
Is that how he's doing it? Because I assumed it was Hamilton Labelestier or Labelestier, depending on how you pronounce the name.
I don't know, but that's what the domain is. Oh boy.
I'm not gonna lie, my dyslexic brain would not let me read that name. I just had a complete blind spot to it, and it just moved on with the rest of my day.
I'm pretty sure the 3 letters next to his name when he's racing are still going to be HAM. So yeah. I think we'll be all right with that.
Well, like most people, I'm not going to. People are never addressed by their middle name, so I'm reasonably convinced people are going to still refer to him as Mr. Lewis Hamilton.
Sir Lewis Hamilton, please get the Sir bit in there.
That's true. Can't say world champion though.
Not reigning, no. And again, too soon.
Even if he was world champion, it'd be too soon for Lewis Hamilton fans. I've worked out that there is no more toxic sport fan than the person that has a picture of Lewis Hamilton as their icon on Twitter. It is equal to being really vitriolic and vocal about Formula One while simultaneously knowing nothing about it.
So if anyone has access to Lee's Twitter account right now,
I'm at a total shunt. Come at me.
Yeah, but he's not been saying his mother's name, has he? So
no,
he might be safe.
That's true. That's one thing you can't hack at the moment. Right, now we're saying that the Red Bull looks rapid this year. Obviously, we were talking about the revolutionary floor design with Scarbs last week. It looks like they are walking the walk and talking the talk with this one. It was reliable. It was quick. Didn't seem to suffer from too many porpoising problems, which has been the big thing.
Perez had a weird spin, didn't he, at one point?
I missed that.
I think if you're not spinning during testing, you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah, but just in a weird place. Like it was somewhere where you wouldn't normally spin on that track, I seem to recall. It was a bit of a sort of, okay, how's he dropped it there? May have just been Perez having a moment.
Yeah, it was a weird one. The one where he got beached.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Saturday lunchtime, possibly? I can't bloody remember.
Yeah. No, I thought it was an odd one as well to be having.
I can hear that high-pitched whistle we spoke about pre-show again. I'm sorry if that's coming across on the show.
Oh, I can, yes.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not getting anything. If you are getting anything, a high-pitched whistle, let us know. Hit like and subscribe. I've gone into autopilot again. It's been a long day.
Like and subscribe. This isn't fucking YouTube.
I know, but I've been watching bloody training videos all day, so I'm just sort of preconditioned.
Oh, quick sim racing thing for anybody doing some PC racing. I noticed this afternoon that on the Humble Bundle store you can get a set of Corsa Competizione, Drift 21, Automobilista 2, 3 months of iRacing, Assetto Corsa Unlimited Edition, R Factor 2, NASCAR Heat, and Automobilista for $13.
If I didn't already have most of those games, Sims, sorry, can't call them games, you get shouted at, I would rush out and buy that, but I might actually do the limited bundle and just get the ones that I don't have just to top up the collection.
It's worth it just for 3 months of iRacing.
Yeah, but that'll be 3 months of iRacing for new subscribers only.
Oh, yeah.
Just like iRacing always do with their offers.
Yeah,
Once they've got you, once they've got you, they've got you. Actually, you were saying I was about to make an iRacing comparison when you said your little piece about people with Lewis Hamilton as their Twitter icon. If you're on iRacing and you come up against somebody with a Red Bull livery, you know they're going to crash into you.
Oh, without 100%. 100%. Happened to me the other day. I led every single lap. 0 incidents. I started third as well and led into the first corner. And this guy was just behind me by about 2.5 seconds for the whole race. And then obviously 13th weekend, which I had no fucking idea was like Mad Max for iRacing. The guy just fucking punted me off the track and won the race.
How can you not tell that it's Mad Max week when you've got Formula One cars doing a figure of 8 circuit with a jump?
That's fair. See, now when you say it and you don't read it, it sounds odd.
But if anyone out there is on iRacing, drop us a line if you want to join in with our Sunday Night League. And if you're called Lee Stevens, join in with our Sunday Night League.
Right, I will. I'm sorry. It's just I'm dead busy. I've always got stuff doing. I have been playing. Like I've got my when the new season kicks off. I've hit C license now.
Well, come and join us on a Sunday, and it's good for a laugh.
I'm at about a 1,200 I rating now, and I have had 9 wins and 10 poles this year.
That's not bad. That's not bad going.
I'm pretty. Something clicked when I changed the brake. When I changed the brake to a stiff setting, something clicked with it, and I managed to do it better.
Unfortunately, something clicked when I spent more money than I should have done on a McLaren GT wheel.
No, you absolutely didn't. You spent just the right amount of money. That's what it was.
Anyway, is there anything more we can take from testing? Anything else?
Anything else that we can take from testing? So, Mercedes, we don't know. Red Bull, Rapid. Ferrari...
Looks stable so far.
Looks stable, but it's Ferrari, so...
There's always a question
I think
mark.
they're going to drop behind Mercedes.
How can you tell? McLaren, brake issues.
COVID issues.
Driver issues. Alpine.
Now, their single lap pace looked really good. Every time they went out and did a hot lap, it was quick. But we don't know what engine mode, because obviously, are they the only team running that engine?
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I don't remember particularly noticing Alpine.
Yeah. So we don't know what anybody. We have no idea what Alpine were doing with that Renault engine.
I mean, in a way, it's good that you didn't particularly notice them, because that also means they didn't have any serious dramas.
It also means they didn't do anything to catch my eye.
Yeah.
I think there might be a little bit of sandbagging from Alpine.
There might well be. Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah, just a little bit. I know they were talking about it on the race, saying that as far as this new engine goes with Alpine, they've been talking it up that they're quietly happy with, because this is the first time they've been using a split turbo, I think. And they've been quietly happy with the results they've been getting. But also, when you look at the GPS trackers for like top end, all the engines seem to have like similar power levels. So they were saying like this whole idea of engine homologation seems to have worked. That no one team has got a massive advantage when it comes to engines.
I mean, that's good in a lot of ways, mainly because Alpine or Renault engines aren't going to get as much data as the other 3 manufacturers. Because they're in less cars. Actually, there is one thing I remember about Alpine, which was the amount of shade that Otmar managed to throw at Lawrence Stroll on Saturday afternoon when he was in the commentary box, and they asked him, So why did you leave Aston Martin? Oh, there was only enough room for one Pope.
Wow.
Awkward.
I feel sorry for Otmar. He really has carried that team for an awful long time. Through some pretty hairy situations finance-wise, and I'm not convinced that Aston Martin can do what they want to do with the with Stroll like pulling the strings above them, because you could argue that Lawrence Stroll destroyed Williams. I feel Claire helped, but you could argue that he loosened some of the bricks that she pulled away.
Yeah, I mean, I have it on very good authority that Lawrence Stroll's time at Williams, he was trying to muscle in and be effectively the team principal, leaving Claire in the role in name only.
Yeah, you can't businessman a Formula One team. It doesn't work.
No.
In a lot of the same ways, and I'm harking back to episode 4 of Drive to Survive, the way that Mazepin Sr. was telling Gunter what to do and how to run the team. And I think Lawrence Stroll was very much like that at Williams, and I think he was trying to do that over Otmar as well. And if you're the boss and the owner's undermining you, it's anyone sensible knows it's not a fight worth getting into.
Joe, I was amazed to find out that the Mazepin sponsorship for Haas was only $20 million, and all the team now we're back into like rolling properly with teams, and like there's no like seasons being destroyed by COVID and stuff like that. That they can comfortably run. They'd rather sponsors, but they can comfortably run without the Mazepin money. The only reason Mazepin had that power at that time was because of the crazy situation they were in.
Yeah, I mean, Gene Haas has actually said today that he has short-term funded the team to the same amount that Mazepin was putting in until they find a new sponsor.
Yeah, I mean, Gene Haas has got 20 million in his fucking sock drawer, hasn't he?
Yeah. So, I mean, the new title sponsor, it's just a question now of what fucking cryptocurrency or dealership it's going to be. Yeah.
Mind you, what wasn't it the... I think it was... Because I don't get me wrong, I know Richard Branson isn't a billionaire, but when they were talking about like when Virgin was coming in, and someone was talking about him like solely funding his own team, he turned around and said Formula One's a really good way to make a billionaire a millionaire.
Yeah, because I mean there was all the questions at the end of 2009. Before they became Mercedes, but are you going to sponsor Braun next season? It's like no, now they've got a world championship, we can't afford it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not something you do to make money. It's a marketing tool for your brands that make money.
Yeah.
And no one's actually sure what Virgin does anymore, so you probably made the right choice.
Well, did you know that Virgin Media, the sort of main cable company in 95% of the UK, is majority owned by Liberty Media?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, so that'll be why they managed to cut to staple on Sky's F1 channel early doors then, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right, okay. I had no idea they were the major. I'd have always had Sky down as major cable company for the UK.
No,
Virgin was that big.
No, they wanted to be, but the Monopolies and Mergers Commission wouldn't allow it. They weren't even allowed to take part in what's now become the free digital TV. But no, Liberty Media is one of the biggest TV providers in the UK and Ireland, and they don't actually use their own branding. They're just renting the Virgin name.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Next week on Three Legs, Four Wheels Talks Business. I mean, I think that's probably covered all the testing. We've done Aston. We've done Alpha.
Williams.
We've done Haas.
We haven't really talked about Williams.
We hadn't really mentioned Williams.
Albert looked all right.
Yeah, the fire didn't help matters, but that apparently was a car construction issue.
We've seen
Was
this
it a
before.
brake fire, or was it just around the brakes?
It was around the brakes. It was actually the I think it was the axle that went on fire. I did see an explanation of it. Let me just talk amongst yourselves while I find it quickly.
Yeah, I don't remember particularly much about Latifi, but yeah, Albon seemed not to be too rusty after a year out.
Yeah. I can't think, apart from the fire, I can't think of anything that Williams did.
Ah, right, okay. Williams have said it was too stupid to talk about, according to Jos Capito.
Excellent.
So somebody left something in the cake tin
Yes.
that they shouldn't have done.
A fire ignited at the rear of the Williams, sparked by overheating brakes, and then it melted the suspension.
That is a problem.
What's
Capito,
the suspension made out of? Dairy milk?
Capito was reluctant to disclose the exact cause of the brake fire, calling the issue a mere procedural problem.
Imagine how good that would smell if it was made of dairy milk.
Oh, burnt chocolate is not a nice smell.
I don't mind a bit, but like
Melted chocolate's a nice smell,
melted
yeah.
chocolate suspension.
But there was fire.
I have just ordered a hot chocolate maker that you actually make with the hot chocolate using real chocolate flakes and milk. None of this powder business anymore. We've actually ordered a hot chocolate machine.
That's good.
You sexy thing.
Ah, that was quick for you. So yeah, I mean the major thing about Williams was apart from the fire, yeah, Albon isn't showing signs of rust, and Latifi appears to be progressing a bit.
Hard to tell again, but yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything that Williams did that was anything other than the fire. I just don't.
Yeah,
I can't
possibly.
call to mind
Yeah,
anything
possibly
that I saw.
second least memorable after Alpine for me.
Yeah. I seem to remember that times were quite slow most of the time, but I don't know that that's
Sometimes
I fear
comparable.
they're going to find themselves like properly at the back of the grid again.
sometimes they had slow laps. Sometimes they didn't, but we don't know what programs they were running, and that's the thing. I mean, we're going to find all this out on Saturday.
Yeah.
One thing we did find out is that Kevin Magnussen in a allegedly slower and heavier car on harder tyres was faster doing a quali sim than Mazepin was last year in a lighter, faster car on soft tyres.
Wow. That's quite something, isn't it?
I mean, Haas did have a run of bad luck all the way through testing. They missed the first morning session. Had a few technical breakdowns when they finally got on track Thursday afternoon. That was a cat's arse on a
It
microphone.
was a cat's arse on a microphone.
And were given extra hours to make up for it. All right, running on their own on the track when it was cooling, when it was late. But they may have made a car that can stand up for itself, as I said earlier. I think that roughly takes us through testing. Shall we do some predictions for next week?
Crazy.
Well, for this weekend. Flood, you've got to disappear, so I shall let you go first.
Or has he
I
disappeared
feel
already?
Flood might have disappeared.
Oh,
I think,
Flood,
yeah.
Flood has disappeared. He did send a message ago saying, going to shoot in a few minutes, I'll just slip away quietly.
He has done.
He has. That was very quiet. He's like a ninja. He's been taking Dan lessons.
Oh, no. Now when I open up fucking, what's it called, Edge browser, I've got fucking Pumpernickel advertised.
You've got pumpernickel cookies.
Yeah. It's really weird. It's like a picture of like I'll send you it to you. It's like an advertisement for Pumpernickel, but it's for some reason trying to make it sexy.
Who
So it's
is
got,
just
like-
impulse buying pumpernickel from an internet
Toto?
ad?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll send
you know it means devil's fart, don't you? We've killed him.
That's good. Here, check it out. Check sexy Pumpernickel.
Let's have a look at sexy pumpernickel.
Might have to share this on Twitter when it. Oh my God! Yes, they are. Is that the Gold Blend couple from the 80s?
What?
It might be actually.
That's not what was happening when Toto was getting it.
We don't know what him and Susie did once the camera stopped rolling.
Can you imagine the advertisement would be like, "This ain't your mama's Pumpernickel."
Hellfire. Right, anyway, predictions for the weekend. Flood is going for a Verstappen win, Sainz second, and Leclerc third.
Bold.
Right. Lee, do you want to go next? I'm gonna stick these on our chat group, so I've got them, and we will do the predictions league on the website this season, where we're all up against each other.
I'm gonna, for the sake of not looking like I'm like trying to cover bases, I'm gonna go with the same guesses that I did for the Hot Lap podcast yesterday. George Russell win, Max Verstappen second, and Lando Norris third. The Ferraris will crash into each other.
That is a youthful podium.
Ooh. All right, Sean, you're up next.
I will go for Verstappen win.
Yeah.
Hamilton second, Sainz third. I'm hedging with one from each team.
And I am going to go for a Verstappen win, Leclerc second, and Hamilton third. Right, they are saved. They will appear on the website. I've not said this for a while, a couple of months. If you want to take part as well, just go to 3legsfourwheels.com, go to the games section, and the 22 prediction league will be there. Put in your top 3, and also pole position, fastest lap, how many DNFs or not classifieds there'll be, whether there'll be a safety car. If you want to have a pole position prediction, Christ, that's not easy to say. You've got until 5 minutes before Q1 starts on Saturday. If not, we've changed it a bit this season, and you can predict everything else right up to 5 minutes before lights out on Sunday. So we can get more predictions in, and if we get a bloody sponsor, we'll try and do a prize this year.
That'd be nice.
Which would be nice. Or we can always get one out the Patreon money, because all these nice people that go to patreon.com/3legsfourwheels and pledge anything from £1, $1 or €1 upwards, it all goes to the show. So we'll should we get a prize? We'll sponsor our own competition.
We could look at sourcing something.
We'll find a prize.
We will find a prize in the depths of 3 Legs Towers for the prediction league winner.
All we've managed to give so far is allow somebody to take Rosberg's helmet.
That's true. Shall we do Formula Lee again? All we have to do is name the tracks. We've got the spreadsheet intern on Discord that's
why not?
That's running it. So, tell you what, let's keep it up with the season. It's the current F1 game, with F1 2021. So it's going to be a lap of Bahrain in the dry. And what car should we have?
Doing a Williams, let's really set the tone.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so it's a Williams in the dry in Bahrain. Because it's back-to-back weeks, you've only got 1 week to get your entries in. So that's by Monday the 21st, 6 o'clock UK time. And instead of sending the entries in this year, you'll have to go to Discord to put them on the Formula Lee channel. The link to our Discord server is on the end of this on this podcast in the description, and it's also on the website at 3legsfourwheels.com under Contact Us. And also, if you want to get in touch, the email address is 3legsfourwheels@gmail.com or at 3legsfourwheels on all the socials, and individually we all are on Twitter.
At Sean Cowper.
At Flood21 for Chris.
I'm at A Total Shunt.
And I am at Pablo100. We will be back next week. We'll have had a race to watch. We'll be on chat on Discord all over the weekend, I would have thought. Join us in the Watch Party chat channel for all the text chat. And I just hope it's as good as we're looking forward to. Because you can't beat a new season, can you? Can you?
Maybe.
Depends how it starts.
Right, Lee, go finish your Lemsip, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.